conservative new media viewers, MMA fans, and boxing fans around the world. What's going on? It's me, Paul F. Villarreal. We're here to talk about Anderson Silva's defeat this last weekend to Chris Weidman, and I want to talk about it from a little bit of a different angle right now. I want to talk about it and compare it with the loss by Manny Pacquiao of the Philippines to his old rival Juan Manuel Marquez in those two's fourth fight, which took place, sometime within the last year, and which also saw Pacquiao KO'd in the same manner in which Anderson Silva was KO'd. Now, why do I want to compare these two things? Because I think they're similar, and I think the way that people are reacting to them is similar. I've been all over the internet since Anderson Silva was defeated. You've heard everything. You've heard that he was clowning around and it was a fake loss and it was a fluke loss. You've heard people saying that they're not sure what happened in the fight and was it all on the up and up. And you've also heard people who don't like Anderson Silva, and all of these people are doing, they have their avatars are now Silva getting knocked out, and they're just running the gif of the knockout again and again and again. These people want to completely destroy Anderson Silva's legacy based upon one fight. And that's what leads me back to the Manny Pacquiao versus Marquez fight. If you remember, after Marquez knocked out Pacquiao, there was a huge rush on the internet to make memes and funny pictures of Manny Pacquiao knocked out. Manny Pacquiao knocked out riding on a skateboard and all this type of stuff. So there was a push by those who don't like Manny Pacquiao to destroy his whole reputation, try to tarnish his whole image and the perception of him. And that's what I see happening to Anderson Silva now. I even came across a thread on SureDog.com yesterday saying basically that. Isn't it amazing how quickly people want to trash Anderson Silva? Now, it's been talked about before in professional boxing that one of the bad aspects of current professional boxing is that everyone tries to protect their record. No one wants to lose, because if you lose once, your whole career is tarnished. And this is often brought up in the context of Floyd Mayweather Jr. And it's been said he avoided certain fights. He didn't want to do this because he didn't want to get a loss on his record. Well, when you see what happened to Manny Pacquiao and what's happening to Anderson Silva after their losses, you can understand why fighters don't want to lose. Because then it becomes you were a fraud, you were protected, you really weren't that good, and you've been exposed. Now let's go over both of these fights. Silva versus Weidman. First of all, Anderson Silva is 38 years old, I believe. He's not in his prime. He's not the fighter he used to be in terms of reflexes and speed, etc. So he's off of the mountaintop coming into this fight just based upon what his talent and skill level is because of his age. Now, I want to be fair to Chris Weidman in this fight. I watched much of the fight. Weidman fought smart. Weidman was able to land shots, at least one good shot, a right hand, before the knockout. So I don't want to sit here and tell you that Chris Weidman had no hope, no chance, and all of that against Anderson Silva, because he did some things in the fight, got the takedown on Silva, that give you an indication that he might have always been able to give Anderson Silva a decent fight. That doesn't mean he's going to beat Anderson Silva most nights, but he's not a hopeless pretender either. This isn't Anderson Silva versus Forrest Griffin, in other words, in my opinion. And I'm not trying to put down Forrest Griffin. I just think that Weidman was a better matchup for Anderson Silva than Forrest Griffin was. So I don't want to just make this Chris Weidman was totally lucky and it was a fluke, et cetera, et cetera. Now, if they fought 10 times, I'm not sure I'd pick Chris Weidman to win 5 of those. So I don't know if it's a 50-50 fight. But Chris Weidman has some good ability. And he had a good game plan. And it worked. Now, again, clearly Anderson Silva had his guard down and was baiting Chris Weidman. I think that was part of the plan for Anderson Silva. He's done this before, and we've seen that, and it's worked before. So it's clearly he wasn't ready to get punched like he got punched with the left hand of Chris Weidman. So we have to admit that. That was a mistake by Anderson Silva. And if he hadn't been fighting in that way, it probably wouldn't have gotten the same result. So I'm not going to say it's a fluke, but the circumstances were favorable for that. Although Silva chose to fight that way, and he has fought that way in the past, and it worked. Now, similarly, in the Manny Pacquiao versus Juan Manuel Marquez fight, Pacquiao, in the round before he was knocked out, I believe he knocked down Juan Manuel Marquez. So Pacquiao made a decision to be more aggressive in the round in which he was knocked out. He was trying to finish Marquez. And because he was trying to finish Marquez, Pacquiao got careless. He opened himself up to the big punch, and that's what he got hit with, very similar to what happened with Anderson Silva. So both Anderson Silva and Manny Pacquiao made strategic decisions that set up their knockout punches. And so it was kind of in their hands. They put themselves in a position to be knocked out. And so it's kind of was their choice. And you can say, well, they didn't have to make that choice. It was up to them. It wasn't what the opponent did. That's true, but they still chose to do it. They still made a decision that they were going to do that, and they paid for it against opponents that were capable of making them pay for it. Now, what do I think about Anderson Silva? I think Anderson Silva is one of, if not the greatest MMA fighter in history. But now you're going to see his aura being diminished because of this loss to Weidman and because of how he lost. And that's just the way it goes. In this age, the age of social media, and the age of the internet, and the age of the GIF, people can play these knockouts over and over and over again and make them have funny surroundings, and Manny Pacquiao on a skateboard lying flat down on his face, and that hurts the image of the fighter. That makes you forget about what the fighter has done besides this. I know there were people on SureDog last night saying, yeah, this is what happened to Fedor Emelianenko, who was widely considered the greatest of all time mixed martial artist until he had a couple losses near the end of his career. And that's the danger of continuing to fight. If you continue to fight past your best or past the period where you are totally focused on it, you can lose. And if you lose, people that don't like you are going to try to make you look really, really bad so they can tarnish your career and your accomplishments. It certainly happened to Fedor. It's happening to Anderson Silva right now, and it definitely happened to Manny Pacquiao. All fighters have the people that like them, and all fighters have the people that don't like them. And I think there were a lot of people who were waiting for Anderson Silva to lose. I know there were a lot of people that were waiting for Manny Pacquiao to lose. We've discussed that in videos before here on our channel. We're big Manny Pacquiao fans. And I know there were a lot of people that were waiting for Fedor Emelianenko to lose. And so this is the risk that you take when you fight on. When you look at people like Mayweather, like Joe Calzaghe, like Rocky Marciano, the famous boxer, they got out on top. They left at the peak, or they left before they got beat, and someone was able to expose declining skills or declining interest. I think Fedor lost his first fight, really officially lost, not the early loss in his career. That was a technicality, when he was about 34 years old. Pacquiao already had a couple losses on his record early in his career, but he hadn't clearly lost or cleanly lost in years, certainly not by KO. And, of course, Anderson Silva has been undefeated since he came to the UFC. So the mystiques of these fighters were intact until they lost decisively, until Fedor was beaten by Verdum in the submission, until Pacquiao was knocked out by Juan Manuel Marquez, until Anderson Silva was knocked out by Chris Weidman. Now, I know that Anderson Silva fans are very much wanting a rematch. They want Anderson Silva to have another chance to fight Chris Weidman so he can erase the loss. That'll probably happen. Chris Weidman's open to it. I know that. He said that after the fight. I don't know how much Anderson Silva wants a rematch, not because he doesn't think he can beat Chris Weidman. I just don't know how much he cares, since he's 38 and he's one of the best of all time. And he said after the fight, it wasn't certain how interested he was in that. So we'll have to see where that happens. Look, the same thing happened after Pacquiao-Marquez 4. All the Pacquiao fans wanted an immediate rematch so that Pacquiao could go in, beat Marquez, and then the orders are restored and Pacquiao's image is restored. Similarly for Fedor. Although Fedor lost a couple fights in a row, so it got a little bit tougher. Now, Pacquiao was technically beaten by Timothy Bradley in points, but I'm not sure how many people feel Pacquiao actually lost that fight, myself among them. So that's a little bit of a different circumstance. Fedor's losses were clean losses, I believe, and so it's a different thing. But look, let's step back and look at this objectively. Anderson Silva is clearly one of the best MMA fighters of all time. There is no doubt about that. No matter how many times people run the knockout on a loop, make fun of him and all this stuff, he's without a doubt got to be top 5, top 3 MMA fighters of all time based upon what he's achieved, at least in my opinion. And I don't think a lot of people would doubt that. So the loss hurts. It hurts now. It hurts his reputation. It diminishes Silva in the minds of a lot of people, particularly those who don't like Anderson Silva. They're looking for reasons to tarnish him. Same thing for Manny Pacquiao. Look, Manny Pacquiao, in the opinion of Bert Sugar, was a famous boxing historian who passed away recently. He said, look, Manny Pacquiao's top 25 all-time great in boxing. And I agree with that. Why? Because he won championships in 8 different weight divisions. Nobody else has ever done that in the history of boxing. I think the most besides that is 6. I know De La Hoya won in 6 divisions. I think Mayweather might have won in 6 divisions, maybe 5 or 6. You can't take that away from those fighters. You can't take that away from Manny Pacquiao, regardless of the funny gifs and Pacquiaoing or Mannying, the face-down planking type of thing. But his standing will be degraded in the minds of those, again, particularly those who don't like him. Similarly with Fedor. So I think Anderson Silva is now in the position that Manny Pacquiao was following his fourth fight with Juan Manuel Marquez. The people that don't like him, that want to cheapen his legacy, are going to use this against him anytime they can. Anytime there's a discussion, anytime there's a listing of the greatest fighters of all time in MMA, they're always going to bring this up. They're always going to play the GIF, and they're going to say, yeah, well, how did this happen then? And that's what's happening to Manny Pacquiao. And since the loss to Marquez, since the KO loss, it's not fair, but it's reality. It certainly is reality in the internet age. We're much more focused on what's happening instantaneously, what's happening in this moment. And we forget about what happened before, and maybe some of the person's achievements before the misfortune, before the slip, before the skills began to erode. And that's what I see. Again, I studied pretty closely the way that the reaction to Pacquiao after the Pacquiao-Marquez 4 defeat. I did the same thing with Fedor after he lost to Verdum and Henderson and one other fighter, I believe. And it's a similar thing. And it's not fair. So if you're an Anderson Silva fan, you got to buck up. This is what it's going to be. And certainly in the short term, this is going to dominate the discussion. And I know there are a lot of Anderson Silva fans that are out there that are furious. They're defensive. They're writing, this was a fluke loss. Everybody knew it was a fluke loss. Silva's better, et cetera, et cetera. Well, you gave the haters something to cling to, and now they're going to cling to it with all they have. And it's a tough spot. It's a really tough spot, but in my opinion, you can't take away from the greatness of Anderson Silva. You can't. He's done too much, shown too much, beaten too many guys, and I think that's the history books reflect that. I feel the same way about Manny Pacquiao. He's done too much, and we never got to see Pacquiao versus Mayweather. We probably never will see it. There was always that fight lingering out there. But, Manny did what he did. He fought the way that he fought, and now he's got to live with the consequences. Same with Anderson Silva. Same with Fedor Emelianenko. And that's where we're at. So that's my thoughts about this. I'm interested to hear what you guys think about this comparison in the comments below. Thumbs up, thumbs down on this video. Thanks again for watching Conservative New Media. We welcome you to come and join the Conservative New Media Facebook group. You'll find information about the group in the video description below the video player. We have over 2,500 members there and growing all the time. Look, like I said, I'm disappointed in seeing Anderson Silva haters doing what they're doing, but I'm not surprised because of what I saw after Pacquiao-Marquez 4 and Fedor versus Verdum and Fedor versus Henderson. This is the way people are, and no fighter has 100% support. There's always somebody out there waiting for a fighter to lose, particularly fighters that are at the top of the sport. They're always going to have detractors. They're always going to have haters. And unfortunately, that's what we're seeing now after a all-time great fighter, and Anderson Silva, suffered a improbable loss to Chris Weidman. So that's all for now. Take care. We'll talk to you soon.